Well, good morning and welcome to your Friday Videodevo. Renee here. I was just reading the angel's words to Mary in Luke 1, verse 30. But the angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God, and you will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus." Well, I was reading this Advent devotional called "The Meaning is in the Waiting" by Paula Gooder. And she points out how the angel's words to Mary in Luke 1 are very reflective of God's words to Abram in Genesis chapter 15, verse 1, where God says, "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great." God says three things to Abram there. Don't be afraid, just like he says to Mary. Don't be afraid. I am your shield. I will be with you. And then third, your reward shall be very great. You're going to have a son one day, Abram, just as he says to Mary, you are going to conceive and have the long promised son. But you know what's intriguing? Paula Gooder points out, what's interesting is that Abram only responds to the last thing that God says. Your reward will be very great. The two earlier and actually much more important phrases, don't be afraid, and I am your shield, appear to pass him by as he focuses on the reward, what will be one day, and when he will get it, and how come he doesn't have it yet? Because look at what Abraham says in verse 2. He says, "O Lord God, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eleazar of Damascus." Abram skipped over God's promise of company and support in the present and focused on what might be coming to him in the future, and how come he doesn't have that promised son yet? Abram finds himself caught between the what was now and what will be in the future, and he seems unable to rest in confidence in God's presence in the present. As Paula Gooder says, God continues to speak to you and me in the same way. Do not be afraid. I am your refuge. And yes, I have a promise about what will be at the second advent, when the Son returns and the Messiah sets all things right. But in the meantime, God yearns that we might learn to stay a while with the God who is, rather than rushing after a future reward and how come we don't have it yet? Let's learn, as Abraham had to learn himself, to rest in the fact that God says to you and me, don't be afraid, and I am your refuge and shield, and you are my beloved. Don't just rush to fear about the future or your hopes and dreams about the future and how come they're not true yet. Don't miss God's Christmas present. Just rest for a while in the fact that God says to you now, today, don't be afraid. I am your shield. You think about that. I know you're going to have a great day, and I hope you can join us this weekend for our live stream services. I'll be preaching as we continue to dive into the prophecies in Isaiah. You can join us at tlc.org/live. Have a great weekend. God bless.